Hey everyone, good evening. Darrell here from the Central Oregon Daily Weather centered across the high desert. If the weather's felt a little confused today, we are in a brief break between systems, but it's a wet break between systems as some showers are still pushing through the high desert. In fact, when we go ahead and look at cameras across Central Oregon, we can actually see that there's a lot of cloud cover. There are some showers, not just in the Cascades, but look at that Pine Mountain camera, courtesy of Oregon Hazards Lab. You can see a shower off in the distance, not even too far away. And we are continuing to track our next system that will be pushing into the Pacific Northwest tonight and impacting us through the next couple of days, really back to back weak fronts are going to be pushing through. And these weak fronts each bring their own set of changes. And what we will expect here through the next several days is heavy mountain snow. So we are about to do a deep dive into your most reliable forecast. Look at what's been happening today across Central Oregon, the changes that are coming up through the next couple of days, and how these changes are really going to impact us. In fact, we are going to go ahead and start this off with our winter storm impact graphic. And this is a graphic that I use through most of the winter, especially when systems are rolling into the region. And just to focus on what we're expecting here through the next 3 days is this graphic just spells it out where we're looking at the biggest impacts. And for the most of Central Oregon, it's going to be limited, but through the Cascades, through the passes, we are expecting moderate impacts, except for Government Camp. This one's showing limited to minor impacts, and then getting down to Willamette Pass is moderate, getting down to Diamond Lake Junction, we're looking at moderate to major impacts through the passes. But for most of us, it's just going to be limited through the Cascades. That's where we're looking at the biggest impact. So this is almost going to be a mountain system as it rolls through. However, some snow totals are going to be expected even in our lower elevation. So let's go ahead and get at it, because just focusing on satellite and radar, and with this satellite imagery is pulling from infrared and visible, so we could really make out what's happening. And across Central Oregon, we do see a whole lot of cloud cover. There are some sprinkles that have been pushing through, and further off to our east, well off to our east between Ontario and Boise, there are a couple of thunderstorms that are mostly working their way through Malheur County. Now, we are going to continue to track that with you, and some cells over South Central Oregon, we're talking Klamath and Lake counties, have been capable of producing a little bit of lightning, and a couple of them have had a couple of lightning strikes. Now, when it comes to the winter weather that I was talking about, that holds off until the first cold front moves into the Pacific Northwest. So let's look at the bigger picture. We are in that in-between area because our next cold front is still well offshore, and a low pressure that developed over Northern California is still pushing to the east and northeast. This is the one that brought the rain today, also brought fog earlier this morning, and we've had a little bit of a wintry mix as temperatures have just not gone very far. We're still under the influence of the most recent low pressure, and that brief ridge of high pressure hasn't really impacted us too much, other than making today's system a little less impactful. But when we go ahead and look out over the Pacific Ocean, we are tracking this next system. You can almost clearly make out that next cold front that's rolling this way. But when we dive in and take a closer look, what we see is those white lines are isobars, which are also known as equal lines of pressure or constant lines of pressure. When they get really tight next to each other, that means it is breezy. So today, mostly a light breeze. Look out over the Pacific Ocean. You have several of them stacked up close to each other. That is indicative of stronger winds, and stronger winds are headed our way with this next system. Looking even further out over the Pacific Ocean, we're noticing a couple of things. Number one, the low that was impacting us today is part of an atmospheric river that's going to continue to impact the California coastline and the southwestern U.S. Meanwhile, on the back side of this next system that is currently over the Gulf of Alaska, a ridge of high pressure is going to build into our area, and that high pressure brings tons of sunshine and big warming. But as of right now, it's still way out over the Pacific Ocean, and this next cold front is already rolling this way. So when it comes to water vapor imagery, we do see a lot of cloud cover over the high desert. There has not been much in the way of clearing today, but some in and out clouds were noticed through cameras and through pictures sent in by viewers. And when we look out across Central Oregon, we do have wet roads. And in each one of these cameras, we do not see much at all in the way of wintry precipitation. Yet the next couple of days, we're going to be focused on these cameras quite a bit, as well as Trip Check, because Trip Check is a handy tool during winter weather, so you can look before you leave or know before you go. We'll look at Trip Check and just know what the conditions are before we head out the door if we're driving through the passes. And as of right now, it is just wet out there, and all of those cameras are from ODOT. ODOT is the one that runs Trip Check, and so it's all running together. Now, here through the overnight hours, this next cold front rolls in. We're looking at rain and mountain snow starting up early Wednesday morning, continuing through the day, and then by Wednesday evening, snow levels start to drop. Snow showers are expected on Thursday. Then late Thursday, we really start to clear out. That clearing trend is going to be the onset of a ridge of high pressure that sets us up with a big warm-up right into this Easter weekend. So Thursday afternoon and evening, we start to clear out with tapering winds. But let's talk about what's really going on. There is a series of weather alerts across the state and Central Oregon. In fact, there's a winter storm warning for the east slopes, actually really a series of winter storm warnings through the Cascades. Now, for the east slopes of the Cascades of Central Oregon, that winter storm warning is from 5 a.m. Wednesday to 5 p.m. Thursday. We're looking at 9 to 14 inches of snow during this entire time frame. And on the other side of the Cascades, the west slopes going all the way up to the crest, that's where we're looking at 10 to 18 inches of snow. So in reality, we're talking 1 to 2 feet and looking at 12 plus inches at pass level. Now, when we just look at a couple of other places, keep in mind the numbers on the windshield are going to stay in place. I'm just looking up and going up to where government camp is. And in government camp, it looks like it's a winter weather advisory, where in that area, we are, I have it in my notes, we are expecting 5 to 10 inches above 3,000 feet. And going further to the south, it's a winter weather advisory on the east slopes of the Cascades, and for the crest and west slopes, winter storm warning. So we are going to continue to track all of the weather alerts, but for the most part, this is what you need to know. 9 to 14 inches for the east slopes of the Cascades. Now, not bringing those big snow totals all the way down to Sister, Sun River, Lapine. They're just grouped in that area. When it comes to actual snow totals, we're looking at a lot less in our lower elevations, but by Wednesday morning, mountain snow already taking shape in the Cascades continues to get hammered with more and more snow. Each front that rolls through drops those snow levels even more. By Wednesday at 11 p.m., starting to already see some of the snow showers in the lower elevations, and we're talking at up to an inch possible at that time, not as much as in the Cascades, but this continues until Thursday afternoon, where we're looking at a trace to 4 inches in the lower elevations. Even Sisters, we're looking at 1 to 3 inches. Not really that impressive, even though Sisters, Sun River, Lapine, Deschutes River Woods, Three Rivers, you're all in that winter storm warning, but the highest totals are going to be the highest elevations. Mostly when you're talking 4 plus inches, you're talking above 4,500 feet. Now, going forward, we're not looking at much more change through the rest of this weekend, and that's because of the sunshine and warming that's on the way. So when it comes to relative humidity values, it's already moderate to high. That's been because we've been getting wet, and there's just been some pockets of clearing. Now, when it comes to high temperatures in the last 24 hours, we caught a little bit of a rebound. Temperatures topped out in the 50s. A few spots struggled to get out of the 40s, but in our lower elevations, we all got into the 50s. It's already at 47 degrees in Sisters. And so with these 50s across the high desert, that actually kept us still near and a little below average for this time of the year. But we also had a bump in temperatures. We're running mostly between 5 and 17 degrees warmer than 24 hours ago. Around Jefferson County, it's not as pronounced of a warm-up, but it's still running warmer than it was this time yesterday as we started the work week. Now, when it comes to roller coaster temperatures, we're not going to see too much of a change here in the next 24 hours. Tonight, falling back into the 30s, few 20s and 40s possible, and by tomorrow, topping out in the 50s with some 40s. After this, that's when we get the big changes in our roller coaster temperatures. And here's why. Because just Wednesday alone, we have 3 different fronts either already made landfall or right off the coastline getting ready to make landfall. And each one of these cold fronts brings its own set of changes. The 2 that are over the Pacific Ocean at this time in this graphic are what we refer to as reinforcing cold fronts. They bring another shot of colder air, dropping those snow levels again. So Wednesday, highs in the 50s and some 40s, rain becoming snow showers by Thursday. During the midday and afternoon hours, the second of 2 reinforcing fronts pushes through, and we're still looking at some snow showers in our lower elevations. Highs at this time in the 40s. Then between Thursday and Friday, we gain nearly 20 degrees. We're talking 10 to 15 degrees warmer on Friday than it will be on Thursday. I should really say 10 to 20 degrees warmer on Friday than it will be on Thursday, because we're going from the 40s to the low 60s. That's the beginning of a warming trend. Under a ridge of high pressure, very pleasant conditions are on the way. So, heavy mountain snow. Rain and snow showers in our lower elevations and some totals for parts of Central Oregon. And then by Friday, under tons of sunshine, Good Friday, we start our warming trend that brings us into the lower to mid 70s by Easter weekend. So a huge flip in the forecast is expected, and here's how it plays out. Through the overnight hours, we're tracking not just 1, not just 2, but a 3rd cold front that's going to be developing overnight. And during the next couple of hours, a lot of cloud cover, some showers still expected. Starting early Wednesday morning, mountain snow begins. Each cold front that pushes through drops those snow levels a little bit more. Through Wednesday and even Thursday, we're expecting periods of clearing, but each one of these cold fronts brings that heavy mountain snow into the high desert. By Friday, we start to warm up under more sunshine, and that sunshine continues by Saturday. And so when we look at the long-range forecast model, it shows similar conditions continuing through Friday. By Saturday and Sunday, a mixture of sunshine and clouds. By the time we get to the beginning of next week, we catch a few more clouds each day, but it's really not until we get to Tuesday of next week that we start to see more clouds, then some showers. So between now and 11 p.m. Thursday, we're talking a trace to maybe getting to 3 to 4 inches, but heavy mountain snow is in the planner. And that's the difference between a high resolution forecast model and one that's not as high resolution. Even that second forecast model still shows heavy mountain snow. And today winds are already breezy with gusts up to 25 miles per hour. The next couple of days they get much stronger. So current wind speeds about 10 to 20 miles per hour. And it is getting breezy through the next couple of hours, but by Wednesday, it's going to be gusty. By Thursday, it's still going to be gusty until we really start to clear out. So for tonight, 30s are expected with a few spots down to near freezing. By Wednesday, we're talking 50s with some 40s on the map. And here is a quick look at that 7-day planner. We have a winter storm warning Wednesday and Thursday. It's going to be gusty. We're looking at some snow totals, even in our lower elevations. And then going forward, starting on Good Friday, more sunshine, more warming, back into the 70s until that next system, which doesn't even show up until Tuesday of next week. So a gorgeous Easter weekend with 70s expected. But first, a stronger system is expected as we roll into April. A winter storm warning, or a series of warnings, is in effect through the Cascades for Wednesday and Thursday. Gusty winds and big cooling is all expected. And as of right now, not much in the way of precipitation. But that is the latest in weather. Join us tonight on Central Oregon Daily News. We'll have more details, the latest headlines, your most reliable forecasts, and we'll talk more about these winter storm warnings. That's it for now. Talk to y'all later.